Okay. The truth is that I went on a lot of listing presentations like a ton of listing presentations in 2007, 2008, 2009, with people that I did not know. And really kind of beyond that, the vast majority of my listing presentations were with people that I did know. And I didn't really do I didn't make a production about making it really formal. Okay. So I'll probably be a little rusty here, but just work with me. Okay. The main content here is what I say and how I say it. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, what has happened prior to this moment is that I have sent out I had a conversation with the seller, and I asked the pre-approval questions, pre-qualification questions. Those questions are on the seller intake sheet that is in Google Drive. They look like this. Okay, can you guys see that? Kind of looks like this. Okay, that's before I come out, I need to get a little bit more information for you so that I can do my homework. Do you have a couple of minutes? Great. Okay, when we get together, if everything looks good and the numbers work and you feel confident, I'm the right agent to sell your home, are you planning to hire me when we meet? Okay, notice slight pauses in between the stuff with capital letters or little slightly bolder letters, okay? Number 3, are you interviewing any other agents or am I the only one? Obviously, I'm getting this stuff on the phone before I confirm the appointment and long before we sit down at the table, okay? I'm basically testing out like what objections am I gonna possibly have to overcome, okay? So when you sell your home, where are you moving? What's taking you there? Why are you making the move? How soon do you need to be there? If we sell your home in less than 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? What would happen if your home didn't sell, right? That's where they might say, this home is selling no matter what. I have to go meet my wife in Chicago. At which point, if I tell them, hey, this home ain't selling unless you price it at $275, then I might not have that hard of a battle to have. If the guy's like, well, I'm just testing out the market, that's a whole different ballgame. Make sense? Right? What price are you thinking you would like to list your home for realistically? So I'm painting the picture that I'm not asking what you want. I'm asking what you think is going to be successful, right? Meanwhile, I have an idea that the majority of the homes are selling, let's say between 325 and 350. If they say 425, I know I better bring a lot of evidence to the appointment that justifies my price, not their price, right? So I might actually bring some expired listings to the presentation too. Say, here's one. Okay, this one was on the market for 120 days and ultimately did not sell. And this one has one extra bedroom than you, and their basement is actually finished, and they were on the market for 375 for 2 months and then 365 for 2 months, right? So what in God's name makes you think you got a $425,000 home, right? So I'm bringing data based on the answers I get from this questionnaire, okay? And of course, I research the market every day, so obviously we'll make sure to list your home at a price that'll cause it to sell, correct? Right? What do you see as your bottom dollar price? How much do you owe on the property? What's your interest rate? Have you thought of selling it by owner? Kind of a strange question, but if they say, no, I'm not going to sell it by owner, come on. Then I know I'm probably not going to have to defend my commission so much, right? But if they're like, yeah, this will be the first time we've ever hired an agent, we think they're overpaid and we usually sell it ourselves, I need to practice my objection handlers on that. Make sense? So then I get a little bit of information about the property. How would you rate, I love this question. How would you rate the condition of your home? Or how would you rate your home on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And they say, it's a 10. You say, awesome. Or they most likely would say, oh, it's a 7. And then the next question you says is, what would have to happen for your home to be a 10? And they say, well, that big power tower in the backyard probably shouldn't be there. And, you know, we've got a really sloped driveway and the backyard is awful, right? Well, these are the objections that you get an opportunity to bring up when the market is not getting them the price they want, right? So they're basically telling you what's wrong with the home without you having to say what's wrong with your home, right?
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. Specifically, what are the main questions you have in choosing an agent, right? So they say, oh, we want somebody that's really responsive. Okay, well, in your presentation, highlight the fact that you're responsive, right? Or they might say, well, we want somebody that's available, up until 2 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, and we want open houses at our home every single night. You're like, well, I ain't leaving the house for you, sir. Right? So you get an opportunity to see it. How do I say this? I'm going to try to be super polite here, okay? We are all crazy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The question is what is your craziness tolerance? Okay. I will leave my house for this level crazy to meet with you. But if you're this level crazy, you can go find a different agent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we have to determine how crazy is this person? And am I willing to not work for my other clients and not be with my family, right? So that I can go entertain you when I know there's no chance of getting paid. Does that make sense? Okay, so now they've answered these questions appropriately, and I believe it's a worthwhile investment of my time. So I show up at the door, okay? Y'all ready? Now I've got this packet in front of me, okay? It's specifically, what does it say? A custom consultation exclusively prepared for Donna Patrick. Maybe even has a picture of their home right here that I found offline, or I swung by their house and took a picture of it. They can tell that I did some extra work, okay? Nice and colorful, maybe put it on hard copy, something like that. It just shows professionalism, okay? So I show up at the front door. Meanwhile, I've got this questionnaire with all the answers that I scribbled down while I was there. Plus, I've got the packet, which I'm showing you here, and I have memorized my script, which I haven't memorized, so I'm going to read right off of it, okay? Knock, knock.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Patrick. This is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams. It is 2:12, and we had an appointment for 2:12. May I come in?
Oh, absolutely. Good to see you, Bill. Come on in.
Thank you so much for having me. Do you mind if we sit down at the table?
No, please, let's have a seat.
Awesome. So, Ms. Patrick, I have and at this point she might say, oh, Donna's fine, but treat it very, very professional and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of this like respect your elders kind of attitude, if you will, right? So it's truly a business opportunity, okay? So Ms. Patrick, I have a great deal of respect for your investment of your time. And I know that there are many real estate agents that you could be meeting with. And I just first wanted to share my gratitude for the opportunity to be here. In fact, we only have 3 goals for our meeting tonight, okay? Number 1, we're gonna review your motivation to sell and sell your home now and agree on a price that will cause it to sell. Secondly, we're gonna take a moment and I'll answer any questions that you may have. Let's pause for a second. So I've also sent a pre-listing packet. We talked about this in Bold. I believe there's some information about this in Ignite as well, and plenty of designs in Chartmasters and on, designs within Command that are basically information about your resume and your company and your testimonials and your statistics and your market center statistics and your evidence of success, like homes you sold or homes your office has sold, that kind of stuff. So they already kind of have an idea of what your marketing package looks like, okay? So we will take a moment to answer any questions that you may have. And lastly, we'll decide tonight whether you want to work with me, and I'll decide whether I want to take your listing, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. Thank you, Bill.
Beautiful. So I've got 3 critical questions for you, Mrs. Patrick. Do you really want to sell your home?
I really do.
Okay, awesome. And are you willing to price your home to sell, or do you want it to sit on the market?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, Bill. I mean, of course I want my house to sell, but I want to get the most amount of money that I can for it.
Oh, of course, of course. And we'll go through plenty of information on how I make sure that I work with my sellers very closely so that they can maximize the number of dollars that they receive. However, and I'll show you this slide here shortly, about a third of properties right now are listed and they never actually sell. So I want to make sure that we position ourselves to be super successful. That's what I was talking about.
Okay, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to be successful. I am anxious to sell, so I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Great. And the last critical question is, do you want me to sell it for you?
Well, you know, I'd like to hear what you have to say first, and then I'll make a decision.
Great, great. Had she said, yes, I'd like you to sell it, then welcome to the world's shortest listing presentation, right? It's a gut check. You want to sell it for me? Or you want me to sell it for you? Well, yeah. You're the only guy that showed up on time. It looks like you're carrying a bunch of professional materials. Maybe they do, right? If so, we don't have to go through all this stuff. So she says, no, I want to hear what you have to say. Beautiful. So Miss Patrick, are you the only decision maker? Let's pretend like you are, okay?
Yes, I am the only decision maker. This is my house.
Beautiful. Now, you got the package that I sent to you a couple days ago. Is that correct, with the disclosures and some of the information about my marketing plan? Did you have any questions about any of that material or any concerns?
Well, yes, I did receive it, but to be honest, Bill, I've been very busy and I haven't had a chance to look it over. So I'm sorry about that.
Beautiful.
But I did receive it.
Not a problem. As you're looking over it in the future, please let me know if you have any questions, and we'll touch on all that information today to save you time, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Everyone likes time saved, right? Okay, sidebar. Okay, great. So our agenda for today, I want to just show you a couple of things. It's going to be your property, your guide, your custom marketing plan, and representing your home. Does that sound good, Mrs. Patrick?
Yeah, that sounds great, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, great. So here's your property. What a nice house. Okay.
Thank you.
If you put the information into command, it will say things like, your home has one more bathroom compared to the average property sold in that particular neighborhood, right? Pretty cool stuff here. Okay. So if you'd like, you can print out information about what's happening in Barton Hills, right? Or whatever the subdivision is called, or whatever the neighborhood officially is called, right? And some information about, hey, a lot of people say there's a bunch of homes with hardwood floors and open concepts and bright kitchens, modern architectural details. When you plug in the address into the system, it pre-populates a bunch of information here, okay? So, Mrs. Patrick, I want you to understand that this process is really all about you, okay? Your needs come first, okay? So I want you to visualize for a second your dream scenario of selling your home. Okay, are you visualizing that?
I am.
Okay, so what's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality?
Well, I envision selling my house very quickly and for the amount of money that I want for it, or maybe even a little more. I'm anxious to make my move, and the quicker you can sell my house, the better, Bill.
Okay, okay, wonderful. And why is that particularly important to you?
Well, Bill, I have some grandchildren, and I'm anxious to move closer to them. I have a house in mind, and I'd really like to get moved as quickly as possible.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Patrick, if you had to choose, would you rather have more money or have the money faster? What would you say is your priority?
Wow, that's a tough question. Well, I think my priority would be more money.
More money. Okay. So if I were to be able to sell your home in 30 days, would that fall into the realm of what you consider to be quick?
Yes, I don't have a set timeline, so that would be fine. 30 days would be fine for me.
Okay. So, Mrs. Patrick, we want to sell your home quickly, but not so fast that we leave money on the table. And the reason is because we want to get to Chicago to be with your grandkids. Is that Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, Bill.
Okay, perfect. Now, if there could just be one more thing that happened in the selling experience that would just make it a dream scenario, what would you say that was?
Well, I think maybe if I didn't have to have a lot of showings or a lot of open houses, that would be great. You know, I'm not really thrilled about having a lot of people going through my house at this time with COVID and all. So, you know, if it could happen quickly without a lot of people coming through my house, that would really work for me, Bill.
Okay. Is there any special thing that you would like for me to, any type of special plan or special system that we might try to get, you know, it's kind of a lot of people in at the same time rather than, you know, like one showing here, one showing later that day, one showing the next day, one showing later that night? Like, do you have any specific way that you'd like to see that look, or you just kind of want to minimize the showings?
Well, Bill, you know, I'm open to having an open house or two. That I'm fine with that. I have noticed, looking online, that some people have been doing, you know, like virtual showings. So I had that in mind. Maybe we could have some kind of video, something like that,
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
people could get a good look at the house. And maybe we could get those that are really serious about making an offer, we could have them come through. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts.
Great, great. I think those are some great ideas. And certainly once we go live, we can talk through the logistics of that plan. But I think that's got some great potential. I like what I heard. Okay, perfect. So Mrs. Patrick, we had the opportunity to speak 2 nights ago, and I had asked you a series of questions for me to help better prepare for tonight. May I just review those questions now to make certain that I have a thorough understanding of your circumstances to sell your home and make sure
Sure,
that we're on the same page?
sure. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, perfect. So, um, Mrs. Patrick, are you interviewing any additional agents, or am I
Um,
the only one?
to be honest, Bill, yes, I am. I have a couple of appointments scheduled later this week. I have a neighbor who's a real estate agent, and I just happened to get a name off of one of the signs in the neighborhood as well. So I do have a couple of other interviews lined up.
Okay, great. And when you sell this home, you're going to be moving to Chicago. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, fantastic. And your grandchildren are taking you to Chicago. Is there anything else that I should know about that's going on in Chicago?
No, just want to be closer to family.
Okay. And how soon do you need to be there?
Well, you know, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to be there as soon as possible, but I do want to get the most amount of money I can for my house. So, you know, I can be patient if I need to be, but 30 days would be fine with me. You know, the next month's fine.
Okay, perfect. And what would happen if the home didn't sell?
Well, that kind of puts a little kink in my plans. I don't know. I wouldn't be happy about that if it didn't sell, because I really do want to be closer to my grandkids. So, you know, I just assumed it would sell. I hadn't thought about the alternative.
Okay. And of course, I research the market every single day. So obviously we'll make sure we list your home at a price that'll cause it to sell. Is that correct?
Um, yes, again, I'd like to get as much as I can for it, though. I hope you're keeping that in mind.
Oh, of course, of course. I just want to make sure that, you know, we'll get a chance to study the market here in a few minutes, and we'll come back to that if need be. But I certainly am keeping that at the top of my mind. How much do you currently owe on the property?
I owe. I have quite a bit of equity. I just owe a little over 100,000.
Okay, great. And your current interest rate?
It's about 4.01.
Okay, great. And have you ever thought of selling your home yourself? Is that an option, or are you going to go with one of the 3 realtors you're meeting with?
Well, I gave it some thought. I saw some, houses that are for sale by owner, but, you guys are the experts. I'm going to rely on a real estate agent to sell my home.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And I already know all about the home, so we don't need to repeat that there. But the other day you said that you would rank your home as an 8 out of 10. And you had mentioned that you have a little bit older systems and you kind of have a steep driveway, and that big power tower in the back is what would stand in the way of you calling it a 10. Is that correct?
Well, yes, it would be a 10 if it wasn't for the steep driveway and the power tower in the back. You're
Okay.
right.
So specifically, Mrs. Patrick, what are your main questions you have in making sure you choose the right agent?
I am, again, as I mentioned, I'm kind of anxious to move to Chicago. I do want to get the most for my house. So I'm looking for somebody who knows the market, who's kind of had some experience selling homes in the area. And I really want someone who's going to keep me updated on what's going on with my house, with the sale of my home.
Great. And just to make sure I'm completely clear on what you mean by keeping you updated, what is your expectation for communication? Is that like once a day, once a week, once a month? What makes you feel the most comfortable?
I think just at least once a week, but if there's something going on that I need to be aware of, lots of activity or what have you, I'd like you to kind of keep me updated on that. But if, if there isn't anything major going on, then at least touch base with me once a week just to let me know, what you've been doing to market my house and if there's been any interest. So once a week at a minimum.
Okay, I think that's perfect. I tend to call my prospects or my active sellers every Friday morning. Would that be okay?
Actually, I work during the week, Bill, so if we could do it maybe at lunchtime or after work on Fridays, that would work better for me.
That'd be perfect. So I'll give you a call once a week, unless we have a lot of activities, minimum. Might check in
That
here or
sounds good.
there.
I'll expect your call on Friday.
Okay, if you don't get a call on Friday, call the cops, okay?
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, something's wrong, seriously.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
like I can expect your call, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to share with, and now I'm going back to the rest of the presentation. Okay, so is there anything else you want to share with me that would make this just a phenomenal experience outside of selling it quickly and not a lot of showings? And maybe working with you on the video and working on a virtual showing strategy. Is there anything else you can think of?
No, just the communication piece, Bill, and you've already covered that. So I think that covers everything. Just getting my house sold as quickly as possible for the most amount of money, and you just keeping me informed on what you're doing to get that done. I would appreciate that, and that would make it a good experience for me.
Excellent.
And again, like I mentioned, and you just reiterated, if we could keep the traffic down somehow, with COVID going on and all, I would really appreciate that as well. But I do want to get my house sold, so whatever it takes, I'm open to it.
Okay, wonderful. So ultimately, you and your family are in Chicago by September, and you're hanging out with your grandkids, and you're going to dinners and the movies and all of that stuff. Ultimately, what will that do for you?
That would make me very happy. I love being around my grandkids, and they're too far away right now. So that would bring just a quality of life for me that I look forward to. I miss them and I want to be close to them. So that would make me really happy.
Okay. Honestly, don't you and your family deserve that?
I think we do. Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the level of commitment that you have to sell this home?
Oh, it's an 11.
It's
On a
an
scale
11.
of 1 to 10, it's an 11.
Okay, great. So my goal is to make that happen for you. And if you're as committed as I am, then you will be in Chicago by September. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. And I hope you can get the job done, because that's what.
Yep, I've gotten the job done for many of your neighbors, and I plan to get the job done for you too. Okay, so
Sounds great.
I so appreciate you being serious about getting your home sold. Let's start by taking a look at what's happening in the marketplace today. Okay.
Okay.
Here's where I would probably bring up some of these slides right here. Okay. This is where I might say something to the effect of, actually, a lot of these slides are reflective. This is from Chartmasters, okay? This is where I would probably put in some of the specific comparables to this, to Donna's house, okay? So I would say here are, I usually would say between 3 and 5 active listings, okay? If you're doing it virtually, you already have those, PDF'd on FMLS, so you can scan through the descriptions and listing history and pictures, and you're like ready to go, and you've practiced sharing the screen and all that, okay? This is also where I would say, because you want to be careful about, wait, back up. I'm going to try to stay in one track. Bring 3 to 5 actives, bring 3 to 5 pendings, and bring 3 to 5 sales. Okay, 3 to 5 actives, 3 to 5 pendings, 3 to 5 sales. Okay, and you're going to go through those at this time, and what you're going to try to do is establish a price range. Okay, the fact of the matter is if Donna needs to do, let's say, 2 weeks worth of, painting or staging or landscaping or any of that kind of thing, there could be multiple properties that come on the market or go off the market that would affect our final list price. Does that make sense? So what we're trying to do is establish a range. Now, I would have some of these slides ready to bring up if need be, right? So if the person, let's say, isn't so sure about Keller Williams, I could say Keller Williams is the #1 in unit sales in Metro Atlanta. As a matter of fact, we have more market share than our next 5 competitors combined, right? Here's a little bit of information on the market, right? Median sales price and how it's gone up or down over the next couple of months or last couple of months. Days on the market. Days on the market is 25 days, up 4.2% from last year. You don't have to go into a ton of detail here, because what's mostly relevant is what's going on within their neighborhood or specific to their home's price. But you want to make sure that you point out a couple of things. And when you bring something nice and colorful like this, they're going to start to be like, whoa, this guy's done his research, right? And the likelihood of the other agents, that's not going to happen with the average other agent. So you just want to make sure that they see that, oh, just to go over a couple things with you, if we have to reduce the price, you're trying to sell a $300,000 to $500,000 home. If we don't reduce the price, you can expect 100% of list. And if you do reduce the price, it's 94.3% of list. So here we can see the danger of overpricing the home, right? Would you rather have the home on the market for 10 days or 102 days? See what I'm saying? And this is where you can just kind of describe the market overall. Okay, 100 finalized listings, 27 of them did not sell at all. Okay, likely because of overpricing. Okay, of the other 73, 25 of those needed a price reduction to sell. And when you had a price reduction, you sold the home on average for 93.6% in 97 days. If you did not need to reduce the price of the home, you sold at an average of 10 days for 100% of list price. Okay, so if you're getting any type of pushback, this is something that you want to be ready to show them. Maybe even show them if they don't introduce any pushback. Okay, sales price to list price ratio. Hey, it's very common in our market to see offers or executed contracts at list price or above list price. In fact, Mrs. Patrick, in your price range, that happens 33.9% of the time. Now, I certainly can't promise that, but if we price ourselves at 325 instead of 335, then we're going to attract more buyers, and that may happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But what happens if we just start with a price at 335? Why can't we do that?
Well,
And
we certainly could. I'm glad you asked that question, right? I'm acknowledging her concern, telling her she's smart for asking a question like that. And then I'm showing her evidence that that doesn't work. Okay. So, that certainly is an option, Mrs. Patrick. I do have a couple of concerns about that. Do you mind if I share them with you?
no, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Can you see this screen right here?
I can.
So this shows us the number of homes sold versus weeks on the market. So the vast majority of the homes sell in the first couple of weeks that they're on the market. And every week that they're on the market after it's first listed, fewer number of homes sell. Okay. So for example, if we have the price at your price of 335 here, and really the market value is a bit below that, then by the time we get around to reducing the price, a lot of the activity is already gone. Okay. And your listing could be thought of as something that's not new and fresh to the market. Okay, here's another slide that talks about the consequences of initially overpricing the home. We've already stated that you're going to get a lower percentage of original list price, and it's going to take longer to sell the home. And this just shows you week by week and month by month what happens in terms of the percentage that you can expect of the original list price. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just curious why that is, though. Why would I get less the longer that it's on the market? Why would it seem not fresh? I don't understand why that matters to people.
Sure, that's a great question. So, Mrs. Patrick, you got understand that how buyers are finding their listings now. Okay, the vast majority of buyers have some form of a instant notification system when a property hits the market that matches their criteria, and immediately they're sent it. And if the price matches the condition and it matches the needs and desires of the buyer, then the buyer and the buyer's agent are going to go look at that home immediately. Okay. However, if you look at the home immediately and they ultimately don't choose that home, then it stays on the list over and over and over again. And buyers of today, they're looking at homes multiple times a day and they keep seeing that home and it hasn't sold. What would you think the buyer's going to say?
I guess they're wondering what's wrong with the house.
Right.
Someone else isn't buying it and there must be something wrong with it.
Right. And the truth of the matter is actually that doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with the house. It just simply means that there's something wrong with the combination of the condition and the price of the house. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I said, here's a home for 300 grand, it's got a driveway like this, you say, 300 grand's a lot. If I told you it was 100 grand, you'd say, what driveway?
Right. That would be a great deal.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly my point. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay. So at this stage, we have gone through the data for her specific property, and we have validated the overall condition of the general market. Okay. So now we're moving on. So based on these comparable houses, this one priced at $325, this one priced at $329, and this one priced at $315. What do you think we should price your home at so it's positioned on the market to outperform any and all of the other properties for sale?
I'm not really sure. Of course, I'd like to be up there at like the 329, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So I think that a fair market value for the home is probably somewhere between 325 and 330. It sounds like you're kind of in that same ballpark. Is that right?
Yeah, based on what you've shown me, I would agree.
Okay, perfect. So before, since you've got a couple of weeks worth of stuff to do around the home, I think it sounds like we're on the same page with the price range. Now, there could be a new listing that comes on the market between now and the time you get ready, or there might be one that sold for less than we expected it to, or more than we expected it to, that might cause the two of us to think of a different strategy together, right? Everything is together, by the way. I'm presupposing that we're in a courtship, even though she already told me she's two-timing me. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would say, there's one extra thing that I want you to think about, Mrs. Patrick, which is, buyers are searching for homes based on bracketed pricing. Have you ever heard of bracketed pricing?
No, I haven't. What do you
So,
mean by that?
so generally in, the Redfins and the Trulias and the Zillows and the KW.coms and all that kind of stuff, buyers are selecting price ranges generally on even numbers. So for example, I'm looking at homes 300 and below, or 325 and below, or 350 and below. Okay, generally those are at the $25,000 markers. So if we were at 325 exactly, we would hit the people 325 and below and the people 325 and above. If we decided to go in at 330 or 329 or something, my fear is that we would only be on the list of people 325 and or 330 and higher, right? We wouldn't be on the list of 325 and below. 325 and below, your home is going to stand out from the crowd. And they're going to say, wow, that's a bigger home than most of the homes on here. That's a more updated home than most of the ones on here. But if your home is at the very bottom of a list that is, let's say, 325 to 400, it's going to look like the least updated and the smallest of the options. Is that correct?
I guess so, but it sounds like you're already discounting my house $4,000, $5,000 right out, right off the bat. What benefit is that to me? I'm already, asking for less than what I think it's worth.
Sure, sure. I hear exactly what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying. As I mentioned before, we don't necessarily have to set a price today. We're just talking about getting the home in front of the most eyes possible. Mrs. Patrick, it's virtually impossible to undersell a home. May I explain?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if the home goes on the market for 325 and basically the world thinks it's worth 330, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, if everybody thinks it's worth 330 and it's on the market for 325, I think there would be lots of interest in my house. People would want to try and get it for 325. That's like a deal.
Right. And do you think it would attract more than one possible buyer?
Well, yeah, sure. I would think so. If they think it's worth more than 325, I think it would probably attract more than one person, of course.
Awesome. So remember the slide that I showed you a few minutes ago where about a third of properties are selling at list price or above list price?
Right.
So that's because of a process called a multiple offer situation. Have you ever been a part of a multiple offer situation before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so here's how that works is you put the home on the market, multiple people are interested in buying it at the same time.
Right.
And one of the most strategic strategies that I've worked with all my sellers in the past successfully has been you go back to all the buyers and their agents and say, hey, it's time to give me your highest and best offer. So make it as clean as possible, give me the most dollars as possible, give it to me as fast as possible, that kind of thing. And you may end up, and actually about a third of properties end up selling more than list price.
So if I understand you correctly, if we get more than one person interested, you're going to go to all the agents and tell them to submit their highest and best offers, which means they're going to know that other people are interested and they're going to give me their best offer right up front because they want to make sure they get it. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Or the other way around, which is they don't want to lose it. Right. So if they're trying to avoid the possibility of losing it, then they may be willing to pay perhaps even more than the market would say it's worth. What I'm saying is if you put the home on the market and we expose it to the largest number of eyes, right, the person that ultimately buys the home is the one that wants it more than anyone in the entire world. So they're willing to give you better terms.
So what you're saying is if I price it higher, I'm probably not going to get as many people looking at it. And I'll be lucky if I get the price that I'm asking for, if I price it high. But if I price it a little bit lower, then there'll be lots of competition and I could possibly get the price that I wanted in the end.
That's a good way to say it. It's not that we're pricing it lower, it's that we have a strategy involved because of the price bracketing.
Okay.
So I would never say, hey, instead of pricing it for $345, price it at $325. But the difference between $325 and $329, you're probably going to benefit more from being at $325.
Okay, I understand. That makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So let me go through the process of working together for a moment. Would that be okay?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So a real estate transaction is very complex, and it's super important that you navigate every step of the way with somebody who knows the market and is experienced in your area, right? I'm repeating her exact words. Did y'all catch that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what we're going to do, and I won't go read everything here, but these are the steps involved in marketing your home, listing, marketing, negotiating, dealing with all the inspection issues, negotiating any issues, appraisals, financing, final walkthroughs. This is what we do together. Okay. And my job is I want to be your realtor for life, Donna. Would that be okay?
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Okay. Well, I want to be an ongoing resource for you, no matter where you happen to live. Okay. We have an international network of agents at Keller Williams because we're the largest real estate firm in the world. So if you ever move to Chicago, do you have a real estate agent there, by the way?
I do not.
Okay. So that's something that I could assist you with as well. I could set up a couple of interviews with some top agents in that area. And you're under obviously no obligation to agree to work with any of them. But rather than just picking a name off the internet, you can get one that comes highly recommended. Would that be helpful?
That would be really helpful. I would feel really comfortable with that. Thanks.
Beautiful. I'd be happy to do that for you. And, my job is not just to, sell your home as quickly as possible and never speak to you again. My goal is to be a resource for you forever. So every step of the way, I'm going to be working to develop that relationship and make sure I do the right thing for you and make this the best possible experience. Would that be okay?
That sounds great.
Awesome. So I've created a custom marketing plan for you. I just want you to take a quick look at this, right? 95% of buyers are looking online during their home search. So we use state-of-the-art technology and marketing tools to make sure that we deliver an optimized search and social media and email campaign strategy to get you results. Okay, and we can kind of scan through some of this, finding your buyer, right? So here you could say, they say, well, are you gonna, put ads in the newspaper? You're like, that's typically not part of the strategy. And the reason why is because such a large percentage of the buyer pool is gonna come from the real estate agents and the internet. We're going to have an awesome presence on the internet on literally thousands of websites that's populated from it being in the KWLS system with Keller Williams. And as I mentioned to you before, I'm on the phone every morning for 3 hours looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. So there's a good likelihood that I'll help uncover a buyer for your home. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, and that's true because you lead generate, correct?
That is correct.
So obviously go through this and determine, am I willing to do just sold postcards, and am I going to do stuff on Instagram and boosting and Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff? If you do an open house strategy, you might talk through that. You might talk what a virtual open house strategy might look like, right? So we'll bring in a professional videographer or whatever, or we'll film me going through the home in detail. So we'll record like a 10 or 15 minute video looking at every little corner of your property. And then when somebody expresses interest, say, hey, my sellers asked that we do a couple of things. Number one is we have showings available on Tuesday morning between 9 and 12. And we have showings available on Saturday afternoon between 3 and 5. And in the meantime, she's asked that you watch this video. We're just trying to, she's got a child at home that has some immunocompromised stuff going on, and she's just trying to limit the number of showings inside the home, right? So would you do me a huge favor and have your buyer watch this 10-minute video to make sure this is just a perfect fit for them. And if it is, we'll get them in during one of those times. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Beautiful. By the way, what that's doing is it's creating urgency, and it's eliminating the people that aren't going to like the house anyway because the backyard's too small, or it's eliminating the people, or it's creating kind of this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, if you show up at a property and consider purchasing it, and there's 5 people out there at the same time waiting, and you're going to run each one of them in one after the other because of COVID, and that's like the pre-assigned time to come see the home, the energy around that's going to be a bit different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So then I go back to one of her concerns, which was the virtual showings. I've written it down here. I know what she's saying, and I'm going to go back and use her exact words, okay? So, Mrs. Patrick, when we create this video media plan together, what I would love to do is I'm going to send it to literally my entire database of real estate agents and prospects and investors, and I'm going to make it really easy for you to share it with your database. Would you do that for me as well?
Oh, absolutely.
All your friends, social media friends, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace. I want you to share it with everyone. Would that be okay?
I can do that. Yes, absolutely.
I get no laughs from MySpace. What the hell?
I thought about it, but I didn't want to say anything.
Okay. So it's all in the details, Mrs. Patrick, and that's why we're going to have high quality professional photography. We're going to have your listing amplified through social media campaigns, yard signs, etc. Okay. And I want to show you just some information about my experience. I know you said how important it is to work with somebody that's experienced in the area. So here's some of my statistics. Okay. My sellers receive 99.3% of list price, and the average in our local MLS is 95.5%. So I've been able to secure about 4.5% higher for the sellers than the general competition has been. Okay, so I can't emphasize how important that is. In your situation, we're talking about a $325,000 house. That's approximately $15,000 of savings that you would net more money from working with me. Does that sound good?
That's impressive. Yeah, that sounds great.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, now, are you familiar with Keller Williams at all?
I've heard of Keller Williams. I've seen the signs, around. They have a lot of signs out, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, we're the #1 company in the area, #1 real estate brokerage in the world as well. And here's some of the awards and what's it called? Credentials that we have.
Accolades.
Accolades, yes. And I'm going to leave you with it here. There's a couple of testimonials. I know you saw some in the pre-listing information that I dropped off, but just here's some additional words of praise. Now,
what was that promise that you just...
So we also have something called the promise, Mrs. Patrick. Would you mind if I shared with you what the promise is?
No, I'd like to hear that. It looks interesting.
Excellent. So like I said, I strive to be your real estate agent for life, okay, and have a long relationship with you and those that you know that I might be able to help and give them a similar experience. And so I take every step of the way. I want to make sure that we're delivering the highest quality customer service to you, unparalleled professionalism, right? No request is too small. Fine attention to detail, right? And when I do that for you, you're going to feel likely very compelled to share with your friends and neighbors what type of experience you're having. And I'll know that I've done my job if you're able to connect me or introduce me to someone that you know that's looking to sell their home or buy a home within the next couple of months. Would that be okay? If you have a lights out experience, phenomenal experience, would you be willing to introduce me to somebody that you know that might be looking to buy or sell a home?
Bill, if you do a great job for me, I'd be more than willing to introduce you to anyone that I hear about who's interested in buying or selling.
Beautiful. And one of the ways that I'm able to share that information with the world is through online reviews. Would you be willing to share a couple of online reviews for me if I can make sure that you get a great experience?
Yes, I might need a little help with figuring out how to do that. But if you give me a great real estate experience, if you help me to get my house sold and you get me to Chicago, I would be very happy to give you a positive review, a glowing review.
Beautiful. So Mrs. Patrick, I just have one last question for you. It sounds
Okay.
like all we need to do now is sign the contract
Well, you
and we
know
go
what?
to Chicago.
Your presentation was awesome. It was a lot of great information. I'm pretty confident that you can get my house sold for the amount of money that I want. But like I mentioned earlier, I do have a couple of appointments. My neighbor, she's an agent, and I promised that I would listen to what she has to say. And I did make a commitment to one other agent. So I would really like to hear what they have to say first. And then I can give you a call after my appointments with them, and I will let you know my final decision. Right now, I'm really leaning towards you, but I do need to hear what. So I hope that's okay.
I appreciate you sharing that. So Mrs. Patrick, other than the fact that you have a desire to interview a few more agents, is there anything that would stop us from working together today?
I don't think so, Bill, because you really covered everything, and I like your marketing plan, and our conversation about pricing my house, that was very informative, and I'm pretty confident that if you were to list my house, you could get me the money that I need to
Okay.
get me to Chicago. So
So
it's
is it,
just I'm the kind of person that wants to keep my commitment. So if you could just hold off until the end of the week, I'll give you a call back and let you know then that that we're going to work together, unless
okay.
something changes.
I gotcha. Let me ask you, Mrs. Patrick, is there anything in particular that you think that a different agent could say that that might cause you to list with them? Do you think there's like other home sales that would be relevant that we didn't discuss or neither one of us found together? Are you waiting to hear anything in particular that would help you indicate that you've made the right choice?
No, I don't think so. But this person is my neighbor, and I think you covered everything. I mean, I'm not a professional real estate agent, so there may be something I don't know, but I think you covered everything. I just, this is my neighbor, and we have a friendship, and I really feel like I need to keep my commitment with her. You came highly recommended, which is why I agreed to this interview, and I like everything that you've said, but I don't know. I just feel like I need to keep these other appointments so that I'm not, doing anything to hurt my relationship with my neighbor or the other person.
No, so break script for a second. There's a lot of stuff in bold about, just this is my personal opinion. I kind of think it's a little bit too heavy personally. So like she already told me that she wants to keep her word. I would tend to back off there. Okay. Sometimes in bold and ignite, you might hear like them keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I personally don't like that. You guys can do whatever you want. But what I did was, number one, I isolated the objection, right? Number two, I asked her if there's anything that she essentially did not hear from me that she would want to hear from someone else, right? And I may even say something to the effect of, what sometimes what happens when an agent meets with, or a seller meets with multiple agents, is that they oftentimes pick the agent that suggests the highest price, right? So that would be one of my only concerns, is that I don't want you to go, I just want you to be aware, like I could come in here and say, I think your home's worth 375 and get the listing. But I want to help you sell the home, not list the home.
That's what I was going to ask, Bill. I was going to ask you, like, because we didn't tell her what her price was, how's that if another agent walked in, the other two agents, and they gave her the price that she really wanted, and they said, no problem, we know we can sell the house for this?
Right. So I would say something to the effect of, Mrs. Patrick, I don't set the price, and neither do you. All I do is interpret the market for you, and the buyer is ultimately going to be the one to determine the price. And that's why I'm looking for an agreement before we set the price. Because I want her to work with me because of me, not because of the price. You see what I'm saying? So I might put a little doubt into her mind, saying something to the effect of, you know, one of the, occasionally what happens, this doesn't happen all the time, is a seller meets with a lot of real estate agents, and the real estate agent names a price that they're essentially just trying to what's called buy the listing. And that might be one of my concerns for you. So if there are some comparables that other agent brings that maybe we didn't talk about, I would love it if you could give me a call and we'll go through those together and make sure that together we can determine if those are valid or not, or how we might change our strategy based on that. Meanwhile, I'm using a lot of us together, we type language rather than like, and I'm not saying anything negative about that person specifically. I might also say, like, if I know who it is, I might say, hey, just make sure that you ask them some of their statistics, okay? Right, ask them what their average days on the market is. Right, a lot of agents don't even know their average days on the market. So if I'm asked that question and I don't know and I stumble, they're gonna go hire the other person. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So then I would just say, Donna, what I'd love to do is, you said that appointment's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, beautiful. So you'll probably be done around 4 o'clock. Could we set up a time at 4:15 just to hop on a quick Zoom call? And I'll answer any questions that might have popped up in the next meeting. Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah.
And then I would close her like crazy on that call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're emphasizing that you want them to reach out to you before they make a commitment to someone else,
Yes.
just to review.
That's right.
So go ahead.
Because I've made such a big deal about being a man and woman of your word, you kind of got me there because you said the word, right? I want to be a woman of my word and meet with this person. If I then say, well, you don't want to be a woman of your word, sign here. I don't like that so much. Does that make sense?
You're not going to offer to call and cancel those appointments for me?
I don't know.
I got a question about that too, Bill, because I kind of like side with you on that. I think it comes across very abrasive, and it's like on one end they tell you, hey, you don't want to make someone feel as if they're doing you a favor, right? But then it's like you're acting like you're trying to push them in a corner to say, okay, yeah, go with me or not. And it just seems like it's a little too much. So that the objection Donna was just saying, like, would you even use that at all?
You know, sometimes I'm in a little bit more of a competitive mood. So like, I know it, I'd be ready to say it if I felt like saying it. But for the most part, I would not say that.
Yeah.
I would see where it would come off as like a salesperson, and I don't think we want to come off like that, right? We want to be their life friend and, you know, their go-to person.
There's a difference between being a salesperson and an abrasive, rude, overwhelming salesperson.
Bearing, yeah.
Right. I had a ton of sales language in that presentation.
And you get me some.
And meanwhile, I don't want to be their friend. I got enough friends. Okay. I want to be the realtor. Make sense?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let me hop on the next call, guys. I had a lot of fun. Was that good, Donna?
It was helpful. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thanks,
Awesome.
Bill.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.